Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Morning. It's Friday. And welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll have JC here momentarily on the Titan More hotline. We'll have Chris Harris from FloridaGators.com giving us his thoughts on the first 3 or 4 practices of Gator basketball. Kicked off on Tuesday. We'll see if anybody's making any shots and go from there. If you missed it last night, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Dolphins. A horrific injury to Tua, concussion, flew back with the team. I don't know if he'll ever play football again. We'll see. If you missed it, Aaron Judge. Well, let me welcome in JC. JC, you're on the Titan More hotline.
Yeah.
So Aaron Judge, since JC has on his Yankees hat, ties Roger Maris's record. I want to read something to you here, JC. Listen to this.
Okay.
Listen to the parallels between Roger Maris and Aaron Judge. They're quite unbelievable, believe it or not.
Okay,
They're both Yankees.
Yeah.
Both were outfielders. They played the same position until Judge moved to center this year.
Mm-hmm.
Maris wore number 9. Judge wears number 99.
Yeah.
Maris hit 61 in 1961, and Judge hit number 61 exactly 61 years to the day from when Maris hit 61.
I'll be that. Now that is something I did not know.
So you get that kind of information from my program. and old Roger Maris Jr. has been all over the news, and
I love that.
I guess he's got to continue staying up there until he breaks the record.
Right. So they're at home in New York against Baltimore, so he's there. If he doesn't do it, they're off to Arlington, Texas for 4 games, which I certainly think you'll see a ball fly out of that place because, like Toronto, it's enclosed and balls just zoom out of the ballpark. Hey, QB, I think, we both know Roger. I think he's exactly right when he talked about Aaron Judge being clean, doing it the right way, Aaron Judge being the true home run king, as opposed to the McGuire, Sosa, and Bonds guys who were wrapped up in the steroid era. And certainly they had a bigger number, but to do it the way Judge did it, I think was Roger's point. And as long as he's good with it, I'm good with it. And I'm good with it anyway. I think Maris, or rather Judge, is going to be recognized. Most people, I think, will recognize him as being the single season home run king over those other 3 guys I mentioned.
And Gene says on Facebook Live, and he hit the 61st in the Rogers Center. Okay. I don't know what that has to do with any of my parallels.
Well,
there was no Rogers Center when Roger Maris played.
Yeah, but the guy's name is Roger. So.
Oh, but it's spelled different. It has a D in it. I see what he's saying. Okay. All right. My bad, Gene. I got you now. So last night, I know everybody in the world saw what happened to Tua. It's going to be a mess now in the National Football League with the Players Association and all that stuff. I don't know what's going to – I just don't know how Tua can continue playing football. I've never seen anything like that. I've had concussions, been knocked out, and I was sent back into the game. I've told this story many times. I don't know if you've heard it, JC. So I've had a bunch of concussions when I played. Only was diagnosed with 1. And the only reason I was diagnosed with it is because I got knocked out. They had against the Green Bay Packers, they brought a Mike Sam blitz. Guy hit me, drove me in the ground, my head hit, blacked out. They carried me off at Soldier Field, put me on the bench. They give me all these tests, and the doctor goes, okay, I'm going to give you 5 cities, and I'll be back in 10 minutes. He comes back in 10 minutes. He says, give me those cities in reverse order. I rambled them right off. He put me right back in the game. Yeah. But that night, the next day, and for about 2 weeks, dude, I was throwing up, couldn't sleep, couldn't go and have light on or anything. So it was bad. But what Tua had, I just don't know how he can continue playing. He probably will, but It was bad, man.
I'm with you, QB. I think your generation and your era of players and those before you set up this alarming attention that we have put on it today. Okay, and CTE is a real thing. There's no question about that. And I certainly think you're right. And I said last night as well to myself, I said, I just don't know why he's playing. He is too prone to be hurt. If it's not,
he's been hurt everywhere. His whole body's been hurt.
His hip, basically had to get replaced. The poor guy just does not avoid the rush very well. And sometimes he's a little slow. I think after his freshman year, it just seemed like to me as an Alabama fan and watching him that his reaction time and his decision making was slower than it was when he was a freshman and he was, virtually an unknown player. But he does not avoid the rush well enough. On that play last night, QB, if you watch it over and over again, he had plenty of time to get rid of the football and just did not do it and took that hit, which was violent because of how he was whipped down on field turf by the defensive tackle. So I agree with you. I don't know if he has any concern for his long-term well-being. In other words, by the time he's our age, if he wants to be able to count the trees in his backyard, he seriously ought to think about what his playing future should be and his future in football, period.
Yeah. So we'll see how, he did fly home on the plane.
That was good.
But
I love the guy. I love the guy. He had one of the most famous plays in Alabama football history he was responsible for. He pulled out a national championship after sitting in the first half and replacing Jalen Hurts, who ironically now has become everybody's MVP favorite, believe it or not, after 3 games. So it's really ironic, but he was part of some really great moments in college for Alabama.
Yeah, Mike says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, that's why Roger Staubach retired, had 3 concussions in 2 years that was diagnosed. Yeah, I mean he's had 2 bad ones, man. In what, 5 days?
QB, if they find out that they let this kid play after having a concussion within 5 days of each other, which could literally kill you, then those people need to lose their license and lose the ability to practice and should not be employed. That's just the way I see it.
Well,
you can't put him back.
Look,
he was concussed against Buffalo.
I'm not a doctor, but I've seen a lot of people. You don't get pushed down like you did against the Buffalo Bills, where your head snaps and hits the ground. Get up and stagger like Mike Tyson just hit you. If your back hurts.
That's right.
Okay. If your back hurts, like if you have a back spasm or your back grabs, it takes you to your knees, like you just fall to your knees. You don't start. Look, whatever they want to say.
He was punch drunk. He was punch drunk, QB, and he had no business playing against Buffalo in the second half, and he certainly, I don't think, had any business playing last night. And again, these guys responsible for allowing him out there are going to have to be held accountable at some point. I don't know when or how or if, but at some point. And I don't know if that's the coaching or if it's the doctors or who it is, the trainers. Somebody's going to have to be held responsible for those decisions.
Well, it ain't the coaches in the football and football. It's doctors and trainers and stuff like that. So we well wishes to Tua. We'll see what happens with that. Again, we'll have Chris Harry about 8:30ish talking Gator basketball. They've cranked up. Get his thoughts on Todd Golden and let everybody know. Get ready for analytics, folks, because our coach is all about analytics. All right, JC, we got a lot of games to pick. A lot of people here keep asking who's some upsets, this, that, and the other. First, it's Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's number 1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Before we get to that, though, a lot of people have mentioned there are some changes on defense this week. Supposedly Trey Dean is hurt. I don't know, but Kamari Wilson's going to start in his place. We'll see. Our defense is not very good, people. I've been telling you that, and I don't know. Playing the young players is great. I don't think they're going to get much better. John says the Bills are playing the Ravens this week. QB, we know you love Josh Allen. Are you taking him and the banged-up Bills this week? I will take the Buffalo Bills anytime, anywhere, any place. I think they're the most complete, assembled NFL football team I've ever seen. However, they did lose Micah Hyde, their all-pro safety for the year, before the Dolphins game. But Bills are clearly the best team. I'll argue with anybody about that.
Well, I want to also mention that before we pick, poor Charlotte and surrounding areas has certainly taken the brunt of some of the worst damage I've seen a hurricane inflict upon people. There are fatalities everywhere. I don't know how you can't really, words can't put you can't really describe, well, you can. It's devastating and it's horrifying and it's terrible what happened down there. And certainly our thoughts with Peachland Dental, Joe Lawson, his people down there. I need to send a text to them because, that is an area that probably, I guess Tuesday of this week is when it all turned and everything changed from the focus of it going north to the focus of it going east. And certainly they were in the center of harm's way. And our thoughts are with Joe, his staff, his business, and all his friends and people down there in the Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. I mean, it's just horrifying what has happened in Southwest Florida.
Yeah, I don't know if Fort Myers, that whole area, will ever be the same again, at least in our lifetime. I mean, it's just going to take way too long. They're just going to have to bring bulldozers in and just bulldoze everything.
Start over. Got to start over, QB, and picking up and cleaning up is months and months and months, and it's going to be years before that area is back. But anyway, at any rate, going ahead, we've got a bunch of games, QB, some really good games. And the thing I like about this week's schedule is that they're in each conference. We've got some really good ones. So we're going to start it off in Tallahassee, Florida. There is a game tonight, by the way. There are a couple games tonight, but I'm not really interested in UCLA. They have 20,000 people come to their games. There'll be more fans with Washington probably there than there will be from Los Angeles. It's just you know what UCLA ought to do? They ought to build a 40,000 seat stadium on campus somewhere and get out of the Rose Bowl. All right. And they got the money.
I still don't know if anybody would show up.
It's really amazing. It's just amazing. UCLA this, UCLA that, and the Big Ten wants them. They want TVs, but the problem is not many TVs are tuned into UCLA football in LA. All right, Wake Forest. This is the game that I think a lot of folks are interested in. Playing Florida State, QB, getting 6.5 points. Florida State undefeated. Jordan Travis really playing well. I know you're not as big on him, but Sam Hartman is a guy that I think everybody's big on, and he's bringing his team in there. Look, they hammered Clemson's defense. I didn't see it happen, and they're getting 6.5, and I think they're going to cover and maybe win outright against Florida State.
All right, we're on the same page. I think the world of Sam Hartman. I think he is legit,
and his coach,
and I think Wake wins that game.
All right, Oklahoma. Okay, let's stay in the ACC first. North Carolina State at the aforementioned Clemson Tigers. Devin Leary, good quarterback for the Wolfpack. If they're ever going to do it, maybe this is the time. DJ had his best game as a Clemson Tiger probably last week against Wake, but I think NC State's defense is a little saltier. I'm going to take NC State the 7 points.
Well, you're taking all my picks. I have Blake Brockermeyer, who breaks down all these teams. He says NC State has one of the best linebacking cores in America.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Leary's an NFL guy.
Mm-hmm.
If they're ever going to beat Clemson, at Clemson, this is the year. I'll take the Pack.
Okay. We're both on the same team. Over to the Big 12 we go with Oklahoma, a loser last week at home to Kansas State, laying 6 to TCU, who blew out Southern Methodist last week in Fort Worth. Oklahoma -6. What you got there?
Where's this game? Fort Worth?
Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm going to go ahead and take the Horned Frogs at home. I don't even know who their coach is anymore.
Getting 6. That would be Sonny Dykes.
Okay.
Sonny Dykes. West Virginia +9.
Who are you taking?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm with you on TCU. +6 at home? Sure. Now, I think Oklahoma could win that game, but it looks to me like it's going to be around a field goal, if that, or 4 or 5 points. West Virginia +9.5 at Texas. West Virginia's won a couple games in a row. I think JT Daniels is playing really well for them. Texas is doing the typical Texas thing that happens. Without their starting quarterback, they have a tendency to lose these games that maybe they should have otherwise won, last week being a great example on the road in Lubbock. I like West Virginia getting 9.5 in Austin.
All right, I'm going to take Texas just to be different.
But do you think Texas will cover?
I don't think either one of these teams are very good, but JT Daniels is going to throw like a pick 6. Watch.
Okay, this is a line I don't understand. You've got Iowa State, who lost, laying 3 at the undefeated and highly touted Kansas Jayhawks, Kansas University, KU. Kansas University getting 3 at home in front of a charged up fan base that sold the place out last week, or it almost did. I guess Iowa State. I think Kansas. I cannot understand this line QB. I think Kansas wins this game by 10 points.
I like Kansas as well. I know Matt Campbell's a good coach, but it doesn't seem like they ever win. Everybody keeps calling him a good coach, but he wins 7, 8 games, 6, 7, 8 games a year.
But it's Iowa State, QB. You got to remember that.
Well, hell, if he's that good a coach, why hasn't he left?
Well, I guess he's waiting on Nebraska to call. Let's see. Texas Tech getting 7.5 at Kansas State. I was impressed with Kansas State last week, and I think at home with their momentum, they'll cover the 7.5 against the Red Raiders. But the Red Raiders had a big win last week at home as well against Texas. But I like this cover. They'll win by 10 or more.
I like K-State too. We're all on the same teams.
Well, let's see if we change it up in the SEC. This is another one of these lines, QB, that I just simply don't understand. But Mississippi is laying 7 to the Kentucky Wildcats. And I know Kentucky's defense. I don't know. I guess Ole Miss will try to run the ball on them, but give me the 7 with Kentucky.
I'm the same way. I told you I haven't been high on Ole Miss all year.
Right.
And I know they have a 3-headed monster, really good running backs, but I'm going to take the better defense and the better quarterback in this game. I'll take Kentucky getting the points. Something fishy with that game, though. That doesn't make sense.
So that doesn't make sense. And in a way, I don't know why this one makes sense, but I told you I'll never pick against Alabama. They are laying 17 on the road. Now, I know you've been saying earlier this week this has got blowout city written on it because Alabama's going to score. But, dude, you're giving Arkansas, who played them very well last year, 17 points at home.
Well, I mean, look, they didn't build those places out in Vegas because of us going, well, Arkansas is a pretty good team. They only got 1 loss. They know something we don't. I do know this. Alabama has the Heisman Trophy winner who is an elite thrower, and Arkansas has like one of the there's like 131 teams in Division I football. They're like 125th in defending the pass.
That's a problem.
And I think they have a field day against the Hawks.
Well, and Alabama's also going to break out with this Louisville transfer, I think, who's finally healthy. Tyler, his name escapes me, but he's a speed guy. He's a track guy. That will give them finally the Jamison Williams type of dude that they need on the outside that they've been missing as a wide receiver. I'm with you. Alabama's going to win by 27. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see Arkansas keep it somewhat close. Here's a game. Texas A&M missing one of their better players, Anaya Smith, who's out for the year. And it's unfortunate for Anaya Smith. He got hurt against Arkansas. Devin A-Chain is excellent. He's an NFL first-rounder. They have that guy on that field. Mississippi State does not have an NFL first-rounder on offense, but Mississippi State's lane 4 trashed him last year in College Station. This game's in Starkville. I think the Bulldogs will figure out a way to cover that 4, and I'm taking them.
Well, they got the best quarterback, and I like to go that route a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, Blake said on my show yesterday, and he brought up a good point, and he's like, I don't know why people think Jimbo Fisher is this great offensive guru. He really has done nothing in his coaching career outside of Jameis Winston.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely
and they're
right.
horrible. They're horrible on offense.
That's absolutely right. Without Jameis Winston, he does not win a national title.
He doesn't win anything. I mean, so there was this stat that Brent said yesterday, and I'm going to repeat it. I'm probably going to butcher it. That A&M has only been in the red zone. What's their record right now? 3-1.
Got 1 loss. Yeah.
So they played 4 games. They've only been in the red zone 6 times the entire year.
And I'll bet you another team that's just like that is somebody like maybe Iowa. So that's awful offense, dude. We have been talking about how pathetic and vanilla and just non-existent Texas A&M's motion is. They don't do any jets.
But think about that.
They do nothing.
Think about that. 6 times in 4 games.
They're terrible.
Tennessee and Florida I'm pretty sure each had 6 trips in the red zone in one freaking game the other night.
One game, yeah. No, it's true. I don't know what look, A&M, Ross Bajork, all of them, they extended Jimbo for 10 more years. They want it. They're going to have 8-4 for the rest of their life. I don't care. I think Mississippi State wins outright.
Ted says Jimbo's a poor man's Philip Fulmer. I'll tell you though, Phil Fulmer had some dudes now. Back in the 90s, he had some dudes.
Yeah, those were good players, those Tennessee guys. A very fast team, man. I used to think of them like a track team. They were just so fast. LSU laying 8 at Auburn. This is going to be it for Brian Harsin. What do you think? I got LSU.
They're going to lose, but I think Auburn's going to find a way because I think they lose by less than 8. So you got LSU. Yeah, I'll take Auburn.
Wouldn't be surprised. Magic happens in Auburn, and somehow they win games they shouldn't win. We finally have one here before I give you my JC Triple Play special. But yes, the JC Triple Play special.
By the way, your triple plays haven't won at all this year, right?
Well, I know. I'm debuting the Triple Play special.
Well, your other one was the Houston Cougars against my Roadrunners, and that didn't work out.
That didn't work out. No, I got 3 off the board type games that you're gonna want to jump on. Georgia is laying 28.5 to Missouri. Missouri's got some issues with Luther Burden and Nathaniel Pete.
Whoever they are.
Well, Luther Burden's he was a 5-star that actually signed with Missouri, believe it or not. I'm sure he'll transfer out soon once Eli gets fired as well. And I think Eli is going to have some issues by the end of the year because they're terrible. They don't know how to win football games, and they should have won last week, but they don't know how to win. Georgia's laying 28.5 QB. You think they'll keep pounding and pounding and pounding?
Yes.
Okay. After everything I just said about Missouri, I'll try to be different and take the 28.5 backdoor cover.
Yeah, you don't just roll into that place in Columbia and win by 30.
That's probably your favorite destination in the SEC to travel.
Oh, they have the worst press. I felt like I was at not even worse than a high school stadium press box.
It's I don't know, but hey, soon they'll be getting about $80 million like everyone else in this conference per year to do some fixing ups. All right, my triple play special QB, games you don't know and nobody knows. New Mexico State minus 14.5 over FIU. Duke and Virginia. I got Duke laying the 2.5.
Hang on a second. What was the first one?
New Mexico State minus 14.5 against Florida International. Love New Mexico State here. They covered against Hawaii last week.
Okay. They're horrible, by the way.
They are, but FIU is more horrible.
True.
Duke laying 2.5. I think they will blow out Virginia at home. I think if you can believe that, Duke's going to blow out somebody. And then here's one. James Madison laying 22 points to the Texas State Bobcats. Take Texas State in the 22.
Dude, do you know JMU? Have they lost this year?
No, they're excellent.
They're very good.
They are.
Texas State stinks, by the way, JC.
The Bobcats. Well,
yes.
They're getting 22.
There's a reason why they're getting 22 from the Dukes who just turned Division I.
Do
you have any NFL games for us?
Well, I was thinking about that, and then the Dolphins played last night. We didn't. I guess we did. Did we talk about the Dolphins QB? I don't know. But there are some games I think of local interest that we can look at. Certainly Kansas City and Tampa Bay. I know you're all over the Chiefs. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. The line is 1 point. So
who's favored?
The Bucks are -1.
All right, I'll take the Chiefs. The Bucks. I think the Bucks have only scored like 1 touchdown all year.
Yeah, it's been hard to watch. Your beloved Bills are laying 3 at Baltimore. I'll take the Ravens to be different against your beloved Bills. I think Lamar Jackson is right now as big a potential MVP candidate as Josh Allen. So I'll take Baltimore.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. There's no question about it.
That will be a good one. And then, hey, let's go to Philadelphia where the unbeaten Eagles are playing my glorious Jacksonville Jaguars, who may have the most underrated offense and defense in football. I'm getting 6.5. Give me my glorious Jaguars against Jalen Hurts, who I love, and the Philadelphia Eagles on the road.
All right, I'll take the Eagles. We got a couple of Facebook Lives before we get you out of here.
Okay.
Asa says, QB, should Tua have been playing? The answer is no. Don said, what's the what prognosis of Tua?
The prognosis is he's got probably got a concussion.
No, he's got it. He had a. I've seen multiple people get concussion. I've never seen them. Their hands and it's some like nerve reaction or something.
It's a neurological. Yes, it's a neurological reaction to being concussed. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, are you in the market to buy or sell your home, JC? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker Emmett Parish, will provide you with fast, friendly, and reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. You know, I'm excited the Gators are playing Sunday. You know why?
Yeah, because you get to watch them on Saturday.
I get to watch games.
Yeah, you get to watch games on Saturday. You have to do radio.
I think we should play. I wish we played every Sunday. Just us only. Just us. That would be great.
Well, do you know anything about Eastern Washington that I should be thinking about at all?
You know who probably their most famous player is that came out of there?
Not off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
He plays for your team, by the way. So you're a real fan. I'm sure you have one of his jerseys hanging in your closet.
Is it Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah. Man. All right. Well, that guy is all pro, man. We love him. We love us some Cooper Kupp.
How do you not know he went to Eastern Washington?
Good point. That's a very, very salient point you make there, QB. Very good point. Well, listen, I'm just thrilled. I know one thing about EY is they have the red field, which gives you literally a concussion looking at it. When they play, I can't look at it, dude. It's hard for me to look at the red turf. It's hard enough for me to look at the Boise blue turf, but the red turf is unwatchable for me. I can't get over that. Do you like the red turf, QB?
No, you know they were one time they were a powerhouse in FCS. They've kind of fallen off the map. But
there's no money. There's no money there, dude. It's a barren Siberian type of place, much like Pullman, Washington, where Washington State plays. My God, if you ever go through there, don't do it in the wintertime. But hey, look, they're going to get a check. They get to come down here. They get a check, and then they fly 6 hours home. And that's really the purpose of this entire game. What Florida will get out of this is hopefully to stay healthy.
You know, they're only getting $750,000. I thought they'd be getting a lot more than that.
I would think that too. To drag yourself all the way 6 hours across 3 time zones to get $750, but that's the deal they worked out. They're coming to the swamp. Their kids can say
it was part of the Jim. It was part of the Jim McElwain he was coaching here. Because Andy says I think Coach Mack played for Eastern Washington.
Well, he's got those ties to the Northwest.
But think about that. We're just now playing them, and he scheduled that game. And how long's he been gone?
Yeah, 4 years now. So, look,
5 years.
Yeah, maybe. But once the new TV deals come out, once the college football playoff begin, I think games like this will start to go by the wayside. But the checks are going to be real.
They'll still have one of these.
You think they'll have one of these?
Everybody have one of these a year.
Well, maybe they'll have one of these a year then, but they won't have 3. And I think certainly Florida fans, this what you get out of this is a team that hopefully stays healthy and ends up 3-2. So that's all you can say.
All right, JC, we're going to go talk a little hoops about the Gator basketball team with
Chris Harry.
All
right, I love Chris Harry. He's a good guy. You'll enjoy that.
All right, so JC, your triple lock. What'd you call it?
The triple play special.
Oh,
the triple play.
And that's you're like the Bobcats against the James Madison Duke. But what was the thing you used to call it on TV 20?
Oh, the sombrero special. It moved lines, dude. It moved lines. The sombrero special moved lines. I wore a 5-foot wide sombrero on Friday night. I had people paging me at the Ale House on Sunday looking for answers on the 4:00 games. That is a true story. The sombrero special was unbelievably successful. New Mexico.
Why was it called the sombrero special? Did you wear a sombrero?
Because I wore a big, long sombrero that extended the entire box of my camera. New Mexico State, Duke, and Texas State. That's the triple play special. And other than that, you and I are pretty similar on our Peachland Dental picks. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Going to take a timeout, come back, and we'll be talking with Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Escapology, F45 Training, Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Prime & Pearl, the HBC's Restaurant, Spurs Gridiron Grill, where you can get Head Beer Coach American Lager in 16-ounce cans at Spurrier's, Pfizer's, and Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to go next to the guy that he loves him some Head Beer Coach American Lager, Chris Harry. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Shane, I am a 52-20 guy.
Oh, okay. So you prefer that over the
yeah. That's
Head Beer Coach American Lager.
That's my go-to. Is the Head Beer, isn't that called 66 or something? 1966 or something?
I thought it was, but they don't, in the cans, they don't do that for some reason. It's called the Head Beer Coach American Lager for some reason.
Okay.
But anyway, Chris, hope you and your family and everybody else down south that were safe and sound. What a brutal storm that was. I wanted to get you on. Obviously, you cover all the sports at Florida, but mostly with the basketball team. They cranked up on Tuesday officially. Hard to believe. When is our first game?
November 7th at home against Stony Brook.
Wow.
So about 5 weeks away.
So they've practiced a couple of times. I believe Todd Golden opened it up to all the media to watch a practice.
All preseason practices are open to the media.
So when you say preseason, that's leading up till when?
To the games. I mean, as far as I know, I mean, that's subject to change, I would think, but and just talking to him, he goes, yeah, I don't, why not? There's some rules in terms of what you can report about what you see. You need to let them know when you're coming, and they, make sure that you get in or all that stuff. But injuries, you have to. If there's an injury that the media sees, they have to wait to get a diagnosis because you don't want them tweeting about injuries before, say, parents know about it and stuff like that, or before there's a diagnosis to it. So there's some rules, but I mean, I think media is as somebody who used to really enjoy going to practice. I went to every one of your practices for those 3 years. That can be really helpful in terms of providing context sometimes for the reader. So
just tell the listeners here that I saw a couple of clips, and I don't know who put it on Twitter, but it was like a three-point shooting drill. Whoops, I dropped my phone. 3-point shooting drill that I've never really seen that drill, how they were doing it. And I want to go get in that drill because I was a sharpshooter, but it looked fun. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that drill, but I haven't. I mean,
I'm not sure what drill you're talking about. I mean, I've seen many coaches do it.
It was like
different ways.
Like 5 or 6 players are spaced around, but they were all moving. You shoot your three, then you go get a rebound, you pass it, and you go to another spot outside the 3-point. Anyway, it was basically they were showing Colin Castleton making threes. Okay, that's the new thing. Is he's a stretch 5? Get him outside. Will it help his NBA stat? Whatever. But what have you seen so far with this basketball team that might surprise some people.
Well, they need to work on 3-point shooting because this little known stat: last year's team was the worst 3-point shooting team, not in the SEC, in school history. 30.3%. That's that was bad. I mean, and when you think about it, who was a shooter on that team? One of the better shooters would have been it was supposed to be Myron Jones. He had a tough year. I've written a feature about him. You can go to FloridaGators.com. He's one of he's the guy I talked to and talked to some people about for my first day feature. That got posted. You can go see that on FloridaGators.com. But he came from Penn State. His last 2 seasons, he was 40% as a 3-point shooter combined. He didn't shoot the ball well. Tyree Appleby didn't shoot the ball particularly well. You just go down. Kwesi Reeves did a little bit late, so maybe he's a guy. But they need to work on 3-point shooting to be sure. But I think they have a plan. I mean, if you're not going to be a great 3-point shooting team, then you're going to have to be a really good 2-point shooting team, and you really need to get to the free throw line. Yeah, they got some guys that can drive the ball and get to the free throw line and make free throws, and it starts with Colin Castleton. I mean, the buzz is that he's going to be shooting 3-pointers, and that's fine. And he has been out there, and he knocked some down his first day of practice. He was the best player on the floor at first day of practice, and he hadn't practiced any kind of contact stuff since he had a shoulder surgery last spring. He was terrific. Everyone's expecting him to have a great year. He finally has a point guard, Shane. Kyle Lofton is the first true point guard to play here at Florida since Andrew Nembhard was here. When you think about it, as good as Trey Mann was, first-round draft pick, he wasn't a true point guard. Tyree Appleby was not a true point guard. Kyle Lofton is not a guy who's going to hunt shots for himself. He's a guy who's going to hunt shots for his teammates. And not only have him, but Trey Bonham is a guy who came from Virginia Military Institute, and he has a point guard background too. So they got 2 of them. You'll see those guys play together at times. You'll see Colin Castleton playing with Jason Jatobo at times and Alex Fudge at times. Alex Fudge is a 6'10" guy. Jason Jatobo, obviously 6'11", 300 pounds, looks really, really good. Castleton is probably going to have he's looking to have his best year. He's a 2-time returning all SEC player. Everyone expects big things out of him, but in this transfer era, there's so much unknown about how guys are going to start playing together. But this is a team that's better than last year in terms of talent, which means they're deeper, which means I'd say there's 13 guys that are capable of playing, that would be capable of playing Division I college basketball. Todd Gold's not going to play 13 guys. So stuff's going to happen between now and that first game we referenced, November 7th against Stony Brook, that's going to, determine rotation playing time, basically. And so we'll see what happens. But he said the other day, his first day of practice, he goes, I like to play like 9 or 10 during the preseason. And around conference season, he goes, I don't think you can play many more than 9. But again, stuff happens, injuries or what have you. And that kind of stuff will take care of itself. But now they're going to determine the rotation and who can play with who and who's going to play the most. And I will tell you this, Castleton's going to play a lot. We know that. Kyle Lofton at St. Bonaventure as a 4-year starter, played 116 career games and averaged. He started every game of his career, averaged 38.1 minutes a game. He's not coming off the floor.
Yeah, a lot of our people probably aren't familiar with him, but I'm a college basketball junkie. This dude is. You mentioned he wants to get people involved, but he can score the basketball if he needs to.
Yeah, but he's not a known shot. I mean, I think he's 30% 3-point shooter, but he can take guys off the dribble. He can finish. He can get in the lane and absolutely make his free throws. But he averaged 5 assists for his career. Averaged over I want to say about 1.5 steals a game. The guy's an all-around ball player. The St. Bonaventures went to the finals of the NIT last year. Along the way, they won at Colorado, at Oklahoma, at Virginia. So he's got a little bit of moxie. He's from New Jersey. So he was a guy. He was visiting here with his buddy. They really wanted, and I can't even pronounce the guy's name. He ended up going to Iowa State. That's the guy they wanted. But he came with him, a St. Bonaventure teammate, on a transfer portal visit. And the other guy just said, Colin Castleton's going to stay. So he ended up going somewhere else. Lofton had scheduled visits to Arizona. They were a 1 seed last year. Purdue, they were a 3 seed last year. Tennessee, they were a 3 seed. He canceled them, decided, you know what, I want to come here. And that surprised the Florida coaches, but they were more than happy to have him.
No doubt about it. We got a text on the Titan Tomorrow text line from Jim. Jim says, Chris, I know you mentioned a couple of weeks or months ago about Jatobo. Will he be wearing goggles?
who's going to wear eyewear the whole year. That's on orders of Dave Warner, the trainer. Absolutely, yeah. But he had some weird stuff going on. Like after he had these 2 surgeries on his eyes, there were times where he had to stay flat on his back all day, or I'm not sure if it was flat on his back or flat on his stomach. He couldn't walk. I mean, he was in a bad way, and there was some not skepticism, but they were wondering whether or not he'd be able to play. But he looks really, really good, and the coaches are really happy with him. I said this last year. He's may have the highest basketball IQ. He did on last year's team. I don't know about this year's team, but he knows where everyone's supposed to be. They really like him, and they're expecting considerable contributions from him. And if you remember when he got hurt, he was playing the best basketball of his career.
And there's been a lot of talk about the kid. Was it Riley Kugel? Is his name?
Riley Kugel, yeah, freshman.
Yeah, he's out of Orlando. Dr. Phillips, I believe. Just kind of tell us what you've seen out of him.
Well, he had signed with Mississippi State, and they had a coaching change there also, so he got out of that. Now he teamed with Denzel Aberdeen, who's a freshman also at Florida. So they're both here on the same team. They won state championship as juniors. And I think they lost the final or made it to the Final Four as seniors. But Riley Kugel got here late. So he had some stuff going on, and he didn't come here till the first day couldn't practice till the first day of fall. And he's got into individual workouts, and immediately you could sense his athleticism. I have a story where I break down potential roles for every player. You can see that at FloridaGators.com. I do it every year, preseason primer. And the people that have been here a few years, including myself, he looks a lot like what Keontae Johnson looked like when he first got here. Just the guy who hadn't started lifting weights yet, 6'5"-ish, really, really bouncy, got a little rawness to him. Excuse me. But he's a heck of an athlete, and assuming he can figure stuff out in terms of what they want to do offensively and get rolled into the system and know where he's supposed to be and all that stuff, because there's some of that going on. These guys got to figure out where they're supposed to be. He's one of those guys that likely will be in the rotation, I would think, and that's going to say something on a team that has a bunch of upperclassmen. I would think he'd probably be the only freshman that would see any kind of sizable playing time.
Another text here on the Titan MR text line from Jonathan. Jonathan says, Chris, can you tell us a little bit about Alex Fudge? Is he the most athletic player on the team?
Well, you certainly make the case. Yeah, probably. Now, he's a guy who was from Jacksonville, at Lee High School. I think now it's Riverside High School now. Florida didn't recruit him. He signed with LSU. He didn't play a lot over there at LSU as a freshman last year, but they had Darius Days, who was a 4-year starter. They had Terry Eason, I think, which I get him and the other guy mixed up. They had one guy who was not a lottery pick, but a first-round draft pick of the Rockets, and the one who transferred to Gonzaga. So he was like the 4th forward on a team that played 3 guards. But he was on an NCAA tournament team. He only averaged 3 points, 3 rebounds a game, I think around 14 minutes. But if you the analytics people here in the building, he averaged over 9 rebounds per 40 minutes. And that's the kind of stats that they look at. When he's playing, he's producing. He's very, very long. I want to say he's 6'10", but I think he has a 7'6" wingspan, and a +8-inch wingspan is significant. Plus, he's very, very bouncy. Yes, he's going to play a lot. He and CJ Felder are going to have a nice little preseason battle for that 4 position. I think Fudge has the edge right now.
Hey, Chris Storing Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. If you got a question for Chris, shoot it to us on the Titan MR text line. We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Melton Law.
A lot of questions, Shane. Gosh.
Oh, there's a ton. I can't get to all. John says, if y'all don't like Napier's analytics, y'all better just sit out the basketball season then. Speaking of that, just kind of, obviously we won't really know about the analytics until the season starts, and we probably may not even know what's going on when they're making these decisions. Can you kind of give us a synopsis of what he's looking at or what he's doing with these analytics?
Well, what I will say is that they'll use them a lot when it comes to recruiting. There are some websites out there that you wouldn't believe that there's analytical stuff for these AAU teams and stuff like that they can numbers crunch them. So they're going to use a lot of for scheduling. and they're going to use it for situational stuff on game day. But there will be moments when knowledge of your team, time, score, and feel, I would think are overtaken by analytics, or vice versa, rather. And he's not going to be a slave to it. In fact, I'm working on this big story about Todd, and I've talked to some of the people that he's worked for. Some of them, and we're all big into analytics. He goes, but it's still going to look like basketball, okay? And there will be some times where why is he doing that? Well, the numbers say this, and maybe we'll find out after the game what the numbers say, and that can explain things better. But to that emailer's point, the people that are going nuts over Billy Napier not kicking that extra point the other day, that's the kind of stuff that will rear itself at time, whether you're fouling a 3-point shooter when you're up by 2. I mean, there's weird circumstances that he has done before that may come into play, but that's just the way basketball is headed right now.
Ted asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, will this team be able to hit their free throws? Obviously, we'll have to wait and see how they in the games, but would you say it's a pretty good free throw shooting team from what you've seen?
I think they've been pretty good free throw shooting team program around here. I mean, Colin Castleton 2 years ago shot 78% from the free throw line. For a 6'11" guy, that's pretty unusual. Tyree Appleby is a great free throw shooter. He shot the most, I think, on the team last year. He and Castleton, I think. They recruited good free throw shooters. Castleton's good. Kyle Loft's a good free throw shooter. I believe Will Richard was a very good free throw shooter. So Trey Bonham, I think, was 78% free throw shooter. He was a pure analytic guy at Virginia Military. These kids from Mobile. At Virginia Military, he was a really high 2-point shooter. This is an interesting stat. He was 141st in the nation in drawing fouls. I think how many college basketball players there are, okay, at drawing fouls. So you draw a foul, 141st in the nation. Castleton was 74. Tyree Appleby shot a lot of free throws driving the ball last year. He was 370 something in drawing fouls. So that's the kind of stuff that they find. They plug into their logarithms, say, that's a guy that can play in our system. Trey Bonham's a guy to look for. He may not be a great 3-point shooter, but he's a very good 2-point shooter, and he's very good at getting the other team in foul trouble, getting the free throw line, makes 78% of his free throws. Analytics.
Andy asked, Chris, where will the Gators rank within the SEC this year?
Well, I've seen the blue ribbon is the first one I've seen, and they're picked 9th, and that's just fine with these guys. And you look at Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee are the teams that people will be talking about the most. A&M, I think, is going to be a top 25 team. I think they won 13 of the last 14 last year. South Carolina, this is interesting. They made a coaching change, but the number 1 player in the country in the class of 23 had committed to North Carolina, and he reclassified to this freshman class and signed with South Carolina. So there's some things going on in the league, which the league's going to be very good. It was ranked 2nd in the country by KenPom last year in terms of overall strength and efficiency and whatever. So it's going to be another great league. But Florida is in the second half, projected right now in the second half. And like I said, that's just fine in terms of expectations of some of these people. Put chips on their shoulders, all that stuff. I think it's overrated in a lot of ways. But that's what's projected right now.
If we had to play a game today, who's the starting 5?
Okay, because Will Richard is hurt, I would have had him in my starting lineup going into preseason. But he rolled a knee on a wet spot the last practice before preseason. He's going to be out maybe 2, maybe even 3 weeks or so. I would put Castleton at the 5. I would put Fudge at the 4. I would put Kawasi Reeves at the 3. That's subject to change. I would put Lofton on the ball. Hold on one second. I'm brain cramping here on myself right here. And I may, just because he's a 5th-year senior, okay, and this is subject to change, have Myron Jones out there also at the 2 spot. But when you look at Jones and Bonham and Reeves and Riley Kugel, they've got some stuff. Like the 2-3 position is going to be fluid all during the preseason, probably well into the regular season until they define rotations and what have you.
Charlie asked on the Titan Mar text line, Chris, it's a long text here. I'm going to try to paraphrase. He just basically wants to know what kind of style of play does Ty Golden, it's not going to be walk the ball up like we did under Mike White. He likes to push it up tempo, would you say?
Well, I would say it's like everything else. It's personnel based. When Mike White got hired here, he liked to push it. Remember, you talked about this all the time. At Louisiana Tech, he pushed it. His first two teams pushed it. Last year's Todd Golden's USF team was 87th out of the 359 teams in terms of pace of play. That's pretty high. But you look at his teams, the two prior years, I think one was 160th, one was 180th. So it's gonna be personnel based. But I think what his analytics he wants a shot in the first 8 seconds, but only if it's a good shot. If they're going to push the ball initially. If they get a wide open three right out of the box, they're going to take that. But if there's not a wide open three there, then they get into their offense.
Last thing for you, John asked, Chris, how does Mike White do in Athens?
Well, he's going to struggle this season just because the team was 1-17 in the league last year. He got their best scorer back, Akendo. They actually got a guy that Florida really wanted out of the transfer portal. But I would think if he can win 7 games in the league, he may be coach of the year. If they go break even, he's definitely coach of the year. But they're gonna. I would think they're going to struggle initially. The thing up there are plenty of players to go get. From the Atlanta area and those AAU teams that play up there and those Peach Jams and everything. So it's a fertile recruiting area. If he can get in there and start. But 4 years with Tom Crean are just god awful years. They never even came close, I don't think, to making the NCAA tournament up there. So he's got a lot of work to do on that end.
And I haven't looked at the schedule. We're not playing in any of the. We're playing in the Nike tournament, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And do we know who our opponent is?
That's Thanksgiving weekend. The first game they'll play Xavier, and if they win, they play Duke. If they win, they play Gonzaga. So it'll be a good litmus test. So.
Okay, but that's like the only preseason type tournament we're playing in.
Well, they got a preseason event called the Jumpman Classic in Charlotte, and they'll play Oklahoma there, which is kind of like a early SEC game when you really look at it. But that's a double header. It's not a tournament. I think North Carolina and Michigan is the other game in that event.
Okay, I know I'm still waiting for them to play in the Maui Classic, Maui Invitational.
Well, they've been asked. They haven't gone. I know Todd wants to go because he's a West Coast guy. He loves those wine tournaments. Yes, absolutely. I would like to go to one of them.
That's what I figured you would.
I take the Great Alaskan Shootout, except I don't think they have it anymore.
Oh, I forgot about that one. They got them all over the place now, and I guess now that COVID's kind of gone away, they'll be able. Because I know I was out at a work conference last year. In the Maui Invitation, was it the Maui Invitational? It was It was in Vegas.
Oh, you had to move it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
made no sense.
I think one of those Maui I think one of them was played in Orlando actually, or somewhere in South Carolina or somewhere like that.
Right. Yeah.
Last year they played in the tournament in Fort Myers where Tyree Appleby hit the buzzer beater to beat Ohio State. It's funny. I was watching CNN this morning. They were doing an aerial shot of Fort Myers, and that whole place where we stayed for that tournament is washed away. It's very, very sad.
Yeah. John says we welcome Keontae Johnson back. Do we play them here or there?
No, play them at Manhattan, Kansas.
That's what I thought. But I guess he's doing okay through the practices and everything that you've heard of?
I haven't had anything otherwise. I don't know what they're doing with it media-wise. You would think eventually you'll see this, this ESPN thing, whether they beam in Tom Rinaldi or somebody with the fuzzy background like right now and the big, Keontae walking on. That's going to be his first game is going to be very, very emotional. That'll be a big story, and of course, when they play Florida in January, that'll be a big story as well. But by the time assuming he's there playing, then they will play 20 games by then. So the novelty of that will be that he's playing against some of his former teammates.
Yeah. Well, Chris, we appreciate you taking the time. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter and read your stuff at FloridaGators.com.
It's at Gators Chris on Twitter, FloridaGators.com. On our website, you can go to my Facebook page on Chris Harry, Florida Gator Facebook page.
I'm kind of fired up that we're playing on a Sunday because we get to watch college football all day. So it'll be interesting.
Is it all day or just one? I mean, are the Gators the only team playing Sunday or anyone else playing Sunday?
No, there's one other game Sunday. UCF and SMU are playing, I think, down in Boca. I think they're playing at FAU's field, but those are the only two Sunday games. So I was saying earlier with JC, I wish we played every Sunday, just the Gators only. That way, you can watch college football.
How about play in the morning and then you watch it, Gators in the morning, and watch the NFL the rest of the day?
Yeah, breakfast with the Gators every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. kickoff, no matter where we play. That would be perfect. All right, Chris, we'll see you Sunday, my man. Appreciate your time.
Right, man. Take care, you guys.
That's Chris Harry. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. I hope you enjoyed today's program, folks. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and we will see you on Monday. Take care.